Hey everybody, Barry at CTech-review. Today we're going to compare the 2026 Ram 1500 work truck base model versus the 2026 Silverado 1500 versus the Sierra 1500 versus the Toyota Tundra base model versus the 2025 Ford F-150. Now you might ask, why not the 2026 Ford F-150? Well, it's not out yet, so we can't compare some of these details. But what we're targeting is who's got the best value truck at this baseline crew cab four-wheel drive pickup trucks for 2026. We'll add some caveats into this of where we think some of this stuff might play out on the F-150 based on the order guide and with pricing we've seen on the Super Duty, just for fair comparison for Ford, even though they don't have the launch truck out. Let's get into this. Okay, so I've got the Ram 1500 2026 Tradesman. This is the lowest trim model you can get in a Ram pickup truck. And I'll tell you what I like about the base model. You still get LED headlights. How about Toyota? We've got the lowest trim model, the SR 2026. And all these trucks, by the way, are four-wheel drive. For you guys that are in southern climates, don't need four-wheel drive. Sorry, not picking on you. We're just trying to pick I think it's like 75% or more of the trucks that are sold each year are four-wheel drive. So we're trying to focus on kind of the mainstream. So we're trying to, and across the board, there's going to be some nuances I want to share. And then we got the Sierra, which also at the Pro model here, and we've got the Turbo Max motor selected, as well as four-wheel drive, LED headlights. Then we've got the 2026 Silverado work truck. And then we've got the Ford F-150 XL. So I'm going to start with the Ford only because it's on the far right and we just ended here. I'm going to start with some of the things I like about it at a base model pickup truck. Well, number one, it's got an aluminum body. For me, being in the Midwest, snow belt, icy roads, you see a 10-year-old truck with steel, probably got some rust on the body. I really like, since Ford went to the aluminum body in 2015, these trucks look phenomenal. I see 2015s on the road today, and they look amazing. You're not seeing any rust, obviously, because they can't rust. So I think for Midwest, it's a huge benefit. I also like that they now, even at the XL lowest trim level, they do have the LED headlights. Another big thing I really like about the Ford F-150 is the base model comes with a 2.7 liter EcoBoost. If you follow CTech-review, you'll know I'm a big fan of the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. It gets good fuel economy. It's fairly reliable. You don't really hear people having issues with it. Let's go to the Silverado real quick, base model. So what do I like about it? Well, what I like about it is the price right now. I like that it's a pretty good price, and it's also got a 2.7 liter boosted engine, but this is a 4-cylinder engine. What do I like about this engine? Well, I know a lot of guys that are running these things on light use, we'll call it 5,000 pound or less trailers, 1,500 pounds or less payload in work trucks. These trucks have had a pretty hard life the last 3-4 years. These guys have not had problems with them, but they're also not towing, 8, 10, 12,000 pound trailers continually. This motor's got great power. Once you get on the highway, I've noticed, especially if you're towing, it will drink the fuel even more so than the Ford EcoBoost. Power-wise, even though it's a 2.7 liter and the Ford's EcoBoost is a 2.7 liter, it doesn't seem to have the power, but it still does really well. And it's got the 8-speed automatic Gen 2 transmission behind it. What are the things I don't like about this truck? It does not have LED headlights, but check out the price here, $44,395. Why do I like, for just a tad bit more money, we're talking $700 more, I'm personally a little bit bigger fan of the GMC because you get the LED headlights. And these headlights, if you were to get OEM headlights, housings and everything, this would be a lot more money than $700. Plus, I think the front end looks a little bit nicer. But you're still right at that $44,000, $45,000. We go to Toyota, and this is where it's a little bit interesting. So Toyota is also running LED headlights, which I'm really thankful for. I've been a big fan of their interior. I think they've done a pretty good job having an interior that looks nice and it's functional. And it doesn't look bad for a base model truck. I think at this point, and this is a bit of a controversial a point here, but I will share this. So this has the iForce twin turbo 6-cylinder engine. You know, they're part of that huge recall that's going on right now for engine crankshaft, I think, main connecting rod bearings, I believe, failing. So some people definitely got some concern with this engine. Totally get it. From my experiences driving these motors, they've been awesome. I like the power. I've never ran into an issue with them. Fuel economy's been pretty good. Toyota's got a different approach than the other manufacturers in the market. They've got basically one engine, a twin turbo 6-cylinder. So if you're looking at a base model truck, this has got the most power at the base model truck at $48,355. But we're going to come back to that because I want to compare more apples to apples here in a second. Now we go to the Ram. The Ram is at $45,820. Some of the advantages to the Ram, I'll tell you, will be, so by the way, the base motor is the 3.6 liter Pentastar, and it's got the 850 RE torque flight transmission. So for me and my use, I've done a lot of reviews on these. Some people like the 3.6 liter. It works for what it does. For my use, it's of the engines offered at this caliber of truck. I think it's kind of a bit distant for performance wise compared to the GM 2.7 liter, the Ford 2.7 liter for performance, power, horsepower, torque, and fuel economy. But the next step up, this is where I believe Ram kind of leapfrogs the competition at this point. There's a big gap. This is where I want to kind of move into this segment now. If we start looking at now, let's compare work truck platform. Now let's compare equal powertrains. So we're going to add the 3-liter standard output Hurricane engine. And I'm just going to go to the summary real quick. So we got this base model truck now for $47,515 with a 420 horsepower inline 6 twin turbo Hurricane engine. Now it gets a lot closer at that point. You see that it went from 44.7 or whatever to 47.5. We're still $800 less than the Toyota. And now we've got what I would call equal powertrains. You guys know I'm biased on the channel. I'm a big fan of the Hurricane engine, so I would actually put it a step above for performance and fuel economy than the iForce V6. But I know a lot of people really like the iForce motor. So now we're going to try to start comparing next premium engine options. We just showed you the Ram with the 3-liter Hurricane. We've got the iForce V6. We go to the Sierra. The next available engine option is the 5.3 liter. It's 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque. Not bad, but really like a little bit below where some of the others are at. When we compare that to the Ram's got 420 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. That's a big difference. Okay, still not a big deal. Let's just add this engine in. Now we go over to the Silverado. What engine options do we have there? Same thing. It's got the same exact 5.3 liter as the Sierra, its cousin. That jumps the price up to $47,500. We go to the F-150. Now this is where it gets interesting because Ford's base model is actually quite a bit above what some of the others were. But just for the sake of this video, if we looked at the horsepower and torque on this, so the 2025 F-150 produces 325 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. So it's kind of in between. When you look at the specs, it's got 30 horsepower less than the 5.3, but it's got 40 more pound-feet of torque. 15 pound-feet of torque more than the 5.3 liter. So you can kind of see like a little bit of give and take. But just for the sake of this video, let's bump up this and jump it to the 3.5 liter V6. This is a pretty big bump when you jump to the 2.7 liter to the 3.5. It goes from 325 horse to 400 horse, 500 pound-feet of torque. So that's another big bump. This is now at this point of the price point, it's best in class by a long shot for power because you got 389 horsepower. So where it gets kind of interesting with Toyota, some of the changes they've made, how we understand this is there's the iForce base motor, and then there's the upgraded, and then you've obviously got the hybrid. So there's a kind of a new variant based on engine calibration, would be my guess, full guess here. But they're offering basically the base engine and the upgraded. Looking at this, I'm assuming this is the base engine They don't really share a whole lot in the build configurator. If we go over to the SR5, let's see what engine this shows. Let's go crew cab, just says iForce Max. I think what's cool about this is, and I hate to be biased, even though I've got a Ram truck, I'm trying to like think outside the box. They're doing in a lot of ways very similar to what Ford is doing. They're giving people a base engine. I personally way prefer the Ford 2.7 over the 3.6 Pentastar engine. They're giving people a 6-cylinder twin turbo option. And then the guys that are diehard want a V8, you got a V8 option for 2026. And I think this is a really cool option. What's interesting is the pricing dynamics here, I think are really interesting. You see a $1,200 bump when you go from the twin turbo 6-cylinder to the Hemi. Whereas if we go to the Ford, you can have a V8 Coyote or the 3.5 liter EcoBoost for within $100 of each other. And performance-wise, they're both fairly similar, 400 horsepower, 410 torque, but the EcoBoost still makes a little more power, 400 horsepower, 510 torque. So if you do a lot of towing and whatnot, I think the 3.5 is going to perform a little bit better in that regard. But the big point of this entire thing is showing you guys, if you want a base model pickup truck, what is the price? You want a four-wheel drive, you want a half-ton, you're looking at $47,000, $48,000, $48,000, $47,500, and Ford's got a little bit of a premium bump there, $52,600. And what's so interesting is this is for 2025. If we all guessed what every other brand is doing, prices are going up on the 26 F-150, which is even more. And this generation truck is getting a little long in the tooth. It's really, in a way, the same truck as 2021 with just a different grille. They didn't do a lot of big technology changes or powertrain changes in that regard. So it's going to be really interesting for 2026. But you want one of these pickup trucks. Pricing is very, very similar across the board. Try not to be biased, guys. It'd still be hard for me not to consider the Ram when I start looking at the options you can get for powertrain and pricing. And then you got dealerships that are getting really aggressive on pricing, where you could get some of these trucks that are 47 grand. You probably can get it for 40 grand, $39,000. And then add in the 2026. If you keep this thing, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. Holy cow. So you can get 100,000 mile, 10-year powertrain warranty. A great price, in my opinion, 40 grand. Versus Toyota, we know the situation with Toyota. Dealerships don't deal with people. And good luck going and ordering this truck. You're going to have to hope there's some dealership around that has one coming with the engine, with the options you want to hit this. Generally speaking, that's going to be really tough to do, but it's possible. If Toyota could go back to what they did before, where they'd allow customers to actually order a vehicle the way they want, I think it'd be a better scenario. I know for me, it's a huge turnoff, and I just don't like the whole Toyota experience for me. Walking in and it's like, hey, take it or leave it. I'm not a fan of that. The Sierra is a truck I really like a lot because I like that for just a little bit more money. You've got LED headlights, and I just think it's a pretty decent truck for the most part. There are some things I don't care for about it. I don't like that they do the wax-coated frame. Where we live in Midwest climates, I'm more of a fan of an E-coated frame. I think it holds up better to like dirt roads and two-tracking and off-roading and snow and salt. But the 5.3 liter has been around a long time. It doesn't have the big horsepower of some of the other engines, but it's pretty simple. The 6.2, on the other hand, it's got a controversial, polarized experience. I love the 6.2 as long as it doesn't have oil consumption issues, lifter issues, or a connecting rod failure. It's awesome. It's actually my favorite V8 in the half-ton segment today because I don't know of another engine that makes that power and gets that good of fuel economy, and the performance is really awesome on it. Silverado is not much different. It just looks a little cheaper to me. But at this price point, you kind of got to give up. If Ford was priced at the same price as the other trucks, in a lot of ways, I think I'd almost prefer this for my life because I think the 5.0 Coyote is an awesome engine, as well as the 2.7. I think that's a great engine. I like they do the E-coated frame. It works really well for northern climates and Midwest. I'm used to the interior. They ride pretty decent, and I like the aluminum body. That's a big deal for me. I think that's a huge selling point. Okay, now next step of this, we look at powertrain and horsepower pricing. How do they kind of line up with fuel economy? I didn't include the Sierra because Silverado and Sierra is basically the exact same truck. In this, I kind of tried to compare mid-level engines across the segment. Now, I did the 5.3 liter V8 because there's no kind of boosted 6-cylinder option that gives that higher level available on the Pro model. So we just did the 5.3 liter V8 with the Toyota. We've got the 3.4. There's only one engine option. With the Ram, we selected the 3 liter. And with the Ford, we kept the base EcoBoost engine. So we got 325 horse, 400 pound-feet of torque, 420 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, 350 horsepower, 440 torque, I believe, and 355 horsepower, 383 torque. When I look at this and I think about the horsepower, the performance based on EPA targets, this is a clear win for the Hurricane here. It's got the best highway fuel economy. It's got the same city fuel economy as the EcoBoost, and it's got the same mixed fuel economy for 100 horsepower more and 70 pound-feet of torque more. That's pretty good. We put all this stuff together. What do you guys think is the truck that's the best value? I'm really excited to see once the pricing is released on 2026 F-150, but at least this kind of gives you guys something to think into. I can see no perfect truck in any of these. You kind of got to just pick the goods and bads. I think you got to take 7 of the 8 options you like of each truck and find which one works best for you. Leave your comments down below. Hey, if you guys enjoy this video and would like to see more of these, let me know. Thanks for watching.